Sound like computerless.
Especially how it ties into politics. And
Well,
pretty much everything.
I said especially how it ties into politics.
Starting August 1st, right, Cody?
So, what's August 1st?
The new Louisiana marijuana policy.
I don't know. I don't keep up with that too much.
No?
August 1st, like Monday?
Yeah.
Anything about that?
Supposedly, I don't know. It's just something I read in the article that no longer you could be searched for the smell of marijuana, but it'll be illegal to vape and still smoke in your vehicle. That's what I had read in the article.
I ain't nothing about that.
That's why I asked. I'm not saying it's a fact. You know?
Yeah, I didn't hear nothing about it either.
You think that we would have heard that if
that's why I said right, Cody. And you said whoa. I'm like, all right.
Well, I can say it's the same thing. I've been hearing a lot of supposedly new gun law.
I read something about that this morning too.
about what?
If veterans no longer have to go through concealed carry course, if you're over 21 and you're a veteran,
I don't know about that either.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
That's supposedly legit.
I mean, I googled it and it did say that.
No, I'm not saying y'all wrong.
Right.
You're probably right. I just
You've been training.
yeah. I've been unplugged for the last.
Yeah.
So what about the semi-automatic guns supposedly being banned? You heard about that?
I mean, they're banning handguns too. That's semi-automatic.
I'm just, I don't know. Just most of the ones that's being used in the mass shootings, from what I read.
So the most highly used.
Only in the mass shootings.
The most highly used semi-automatic weapon in mass shootings is a pistol.
Yeah, I guess that's what they about to ban.
I mean, it's banned in Canada now.
Canada didn't have the right to bear arms.
I get it. I'm just making a statement. What are you defensive this morning?
Yeah.
Y'all just talking.
To say he don't even have
It's
the
actually a
knowledge.
basic question, and you just
Waking up, man. I ain't my coffee ain't in yet. Let my coffee. Hey, woke up.
So I guess I'm gonna start officially since Cody's been giving me a rough time. So.
We need the intro.
Welcome back to another episode of Not So Wide Divide.
Thank you.
I am happy we got everybody back in the building today. And, it's gonna be another spitball episode, I think, because I mean, there's a lot of just general topics that's kind of been in the news that I would love to pick everybody's brain about and see.
Is that on?
What it's coming.
My computer decided to update whenever I turned it on this morning. And it's taken all morning to do so.
Right.
It's kind of part of being prepared for the show.
One job to do, bro.
That's it.
Look, I never agreed to this update. I turned it off a couple of days ago. And when I turned it back on, it decided it was going to update. Blame HP.
So I guess we'll continue we'll start back where we started before I did intro, was Brittney Griner's situation in Russia. I know most people, if you want any kind of Instagram, social media, somebody has posted something about it. And I think it's an interesting topic. I think it's interesting how it plays into our politics here in the country. And I know Tori kind of said like what it was, and I'm not 100%. I know I've heard it was THC, vape pen, and physical marijuana. The other guy said that it was just vape pens and oils or whatever. But regardless, it's illegal in Russia, any of it. But personally, I think I don't give a shit if she got it. I don't care, right? Like, it's illegal, whatever. I don't think it's a huge deal, but I'm not in that country and I'm not that government. But I just think it's so funny how our government is pushing face and making deals and trying to get public agreement to release Brittney and is having these discussions with the Russian government. But then on the flip side, we have so many people in our prisons for the exact same reason. Yeah. And I'm going, huh? What? Like,
on top of it, they wouldn't be making those deals.
Kamala is making headlines about all of this thing, how this is not right, it's inhumane. And it's like, girl, you put like 20% of the prison population, just your 4 years in the DA in California, in prison for marijuana, when it was legal. Y'all had marijuana laws that made certain things legal. And y'all had some of the harshest penalties for marijuana.
Once you get outside of that scope.
And so it's like, why y'all, like, this is one American that you were fighting for and spending a lot of money But is it because she's a basketball player?
Don't they have other like Americans over there in prison too?
Oh,
like less of things or something.
I'm sure.
And I mean, as far as like the government coming into it, they must have came in towards the end, huh? Lately, right? Because I know prior to that, it was being blown up because it wasn't getting any media attention.
I mean, I heard it on the news that they should arrest him.
I mean, yeah,
it was
I mean, everybody saw that, but after a while, it just went on, which life is supposed to go on.
Right.
And the next argument was if it was LeBron James. I mean, if it was LeBron James, I don't think LeBron would have took that over there. So I wouldn't even put LeBron in that category.
I would feel the same way.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
You know.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but I agree with Tori 100%. Like, you can't use that if it was
LeBron James.
LeBron wouldn't have done that. Like,
Right.
He wouldn't have had that on him. He wouldn't have put himself in that
situation.
To be,
Then the follow-up argument will be, well, LeBron is making X, Y, Z, so he shouldn't have to go. He doesn't have to go to Russia to play basketball, so forth and so on, to make extra money. So with the government situation, I think it's tacky, you know. We can't always get what we want, man. You know, like, nobody kidnapped you. Nobody put a gun to you for that. And me, if I do something in one country or one state, I'm clearly weighing my options before I go to another state or even another country with it, you know.
And I guarantee you, they're well told, all these players who came from the United States that went over there, they got different laws. This is what they are. These are the things you can do in America you can't do in Russia. Like, I guarantee you, all of these, talking about professional athletes, if they didn't get a briefing, that's ridiculous.
Right.
But I'm fairly certain that somebody sat them down before they went over there, talked about customs, talked about how to act.
She said she knew that it was against the law. Her last statement, this was just this past week, is that she knew it was against the law, but she was doing it to help her teammates.
Doing what to help a teammate?
Because she believes
her
that
smoking marijuana was helping her
she
teammates?
believes that the THC and they did it for recovery purposes, not for high purposes. Like it was
Like she was sharing with her teammates.
Yeah.
So she was distributing marijuana in Russia?
So it's
It's supposedly
distribute
said,
is if you're so under, well, we really don't know what the distribute law is.
Right, but if it's the United States.
If it's United States.
I mean,
so if
sharing
I
a joint
sell it, is it distributing?
Yes, it is.
But if I just say
100%.
here,
Really?
Yes.
yeah, that's
I thought
and see that's something a lot of people don't know. Like,
100%.
you know, people think, hey, if I'm distributing, I'm getting paid for it. You know what I'm saying? So you could just be like, hey, man, here, take
I
this.
didn't know that. I thought like we pass a joint around, so I'm going to jail for
Yeah, for distributing. And like, if you give it to me and I hit it and I die, the charges just got up.
Man, get away from my table, man. Get away from my table. You can't breathe. Go over there.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's distribution.
I thought it was they had to have a weight to it or an amount.
Right. Actual dollar value being exchanged. No.
Wow. Yeah,
That's why, like, remember that whole story with the chick that went undercover in the high schools and stuff like that? A lot of those distributions were just what you said, man. Like, they were sharing that kind of stuff. Or, like, giving her marijuana.
Yes.
Not charging her, just giving her marijuana. Like, hey, here's a joint for whatever. That's distribution. Yeah.
Well, that's that's plenty of shit.
It's the law.
Yeah, I get it. We're not debating that.
Yeah, please. You don't want to debate any laws. Not do more.
But I mean, you see, that's the whole thing that I think is so ironic about about the Brittney situation, is that they're so quick to defend her and say, "Hey, look, we need to get her released." But on the same hand, I mean, how many tens of thousands,
if millions, not millions of people put away for that,
in prison right now for the same exact thing that she is
taking up space and tax dollars.
And I'm like, especially when it's legal in so many states,
right?
Like I think it's the quintessential hypocrisy of our government.
Just a bonehead mistake and just drawing too much attention.
Yeah.
Like, you never want to see anybody in that situation, but at the same time, I mean, you're one person.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to, and I don't even know if you could even find it. I don't know how Russia's archives or whatever are, but I would like to see other people who got
detained for the same thing.
See, that's what they're saying. That's what her family's saying.
And to me, that has
using
bearing.
her as an example.
Right, like are they just using this woman because she's semi-famous and because she's a professional athlete and she's an American and blah. I would like to see the difference in that, the way she and you know, if I was walking through an airport, being a
normal citizen,
not even an American, a British citizen or something like that, and see how the
strict the law is to them. Yeah,
am I going to get a warning and you know, or
makes sense,
and that's what her family's argument is that this is why the government needs to step in, because they're holding her. And they're using her as an example because of the sanctions.
Like as a political prisoner.
Because of the sanctions that the government.
And look, if that's true, then I have no problem with our government getting involved in it.
Right.
If that's the case. If it's not, and she's getting equal treatment under their law as anybody else would, sorry for her.
But do you trust what you would hear either which way from?
I mean, if you can't, I wouldn't trust just somebody telling me that. But if they came with like in 2021, this amount of people were found at the airport having vape pens with THC in it, and 2 of them were arrested. One of them being Brittney, the other one being a U.S. soldier or something like that. You know, if that's the case, then yeah, the government does need to get involved in that. You know, because that's a bunch of BS, man. They just. I don't agree with using her as an example either.
Right.
I agree 100%.
And we would never know that they're actually using her as an example if it wasn't for the media, like the social networks, as far as just bringing the attention to it that nothing's being done. And I'm being flat out honest with you. I have never clicked on the link to even read up on it to see what was going on. And you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much going on in the world right now. Like,
right.
Yeah, you're probably not making a lot of money, but you're making money.
She's making enough to survive, right? Sure.
And I mean, you've been a big name since college. Like, I'm sure some of the money that you have made, you have been able to invest in it. Like, you got to be missing something to still be
THC and vape.
Scratch that from the record. I'm not with that, but. I don't know, man. We just leave so many opportunities on the table, and I'm never going to stop somebody from playing the game they love. But if you're just going overseas to play basketball for money, and it's not really just the love, and you've been playing for a while,
right?
I got to go to work every day, And I'm not going to be in shape when I leave off of that.
That comment sits much different coming from you.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
I'm just saying, you personally know people that have done that, that have gone overseas for work.
Made money.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's not, I mean, the opportunity's there. You still understand that there's things that you got to take a little differently.
Right.
You got to understand the situation you're in. It's a choice you make, and it's like, you want to play,
Go through the harsh times, go through things that you're not used to, because it's not an everyday thing. You might be over there 3, 4, 5 months at the most. You have enough money to where if you have a break, you could come home. So, tough situation, man.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to spend too much time.
Right.
That's not a whole lot, So what's next on y'all brains? What's the Cody, you mentioned something about some travel sports that you wanted to.
Yeah, so I'm gonna preface this with my kids are just starting to get involved in travel, baseball specifically, and our local rec ball in this area. The coach is there, and we're lucky enough to have a pretty decent coach on the little team that he plays for, right? But the level of coaching overall that the kids get is, it's just people's dads and stuff that are trying to coach the kids. It's not the same thing as playing travel, right? My son's late to the game, getting in, so we're trying to get him caught up because he's not that far away. The mechanics of throwing is probably his biggest issue, but he's got a pretty decent swing and his fielding's okay. So we started kind of dipping into that environment and starting to try to bring him to camps and bringing him to private lessons so that he can kind of bridge that gap, and it made me realize like the amount of money it's going to cost me to get my son from where he's at to even making not even one of these like AAA top of the line.
Yeah, just the bare minimum.
Just like a
team.
Not one of these nationally ranked travel teams that we have around here. Just a regular run of the mill travel team. It's going to cost me thousands of dollars. That's ridiculous.
It's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars in the long run.
It's making, but to me, it's making a sport like baseball, anything past recreation level, which is a joke to say the least. That's a whole other freaking topic. But
facts.
But to make
Parish.
It's not just Terrebonne Parish.
No, it's not.
But to have your child get anywhere, it almost makes baseball only for the elite people. Like it's hard to like if you ain't got a lot of money, you ain't playing baseball past rec. It's ridiculous.
So there's if I can put it to you in a business sense, right? So rec ball is a non-profit organization. Travel ball is a business.
Yeah, I mean I get that.
That's exactly what it is. You want to play. You want to be in a charity. You want everybody to play. That's rec ball.
Not talking about everybody playing.
No. I'm just saying everybody. Meaning like it does not matter talent. There's nobody that is coaching specific talent. It's basic fundamentals. It's the love of a game, right? And it sucks. And it sucks everywhere. And it sucks everywhere because of travel ball.
Right now, look. I'm on the flip side of that coin. We in the tri-parish area, or just in our parish, we got 2 state championship baseball, high school baseball teams. Most of them made the playoffs,
and that is because of travel.
And 100% that's because of the travel ball scene around here. My issue is, you can't even go to one of the. So for an hour to have a coach, and again, this is not like these national ranked travel teams we have. To have a coach your child is $65 an hour for 1 hour. You ain't getting much out of that 1 hour, right? You're going to get a couple of drills to go home and do, and that's it. None of these coaches around here are going to say, look, I have a team that for the kids that need to bridge that gap, here's a monthly subscription, whatever. They're going to be able to get this same kind of coaching, at a more reasonable price. And like I don't even know exactly how to put it into words, but it just doesn't sit well with me, the amount of money it takes to get there. Because I'm telling you, it makes baseball one of those sports that if you ain't got a lot of money, you ain't playing baseball.
So, do you find that the kids that actually can bridge the gap, that's also getting these same trainings, you find that they're being grouped together?
What you mean?
So, let's say I did a baseball deal, like I did the training of the son. I'm sorry, and I'm like, all right, I have a little grade sheet where I kind of rate him. I know, all right, this guy's going to be coming to me for X, Y, Z, and I have him starting at 7. So here I am. I might have a 9, 10, 11-year-old travel team. So I done been training maybe 10 to 12 7-year-olds. And I done picked out me a elite group. Do you think trainers either bring in a coach from somewhere else or take them themselves and put them on a training team and take them?
Well, they have different age groups, all the way from like T-ball all the way on up. But like
age groups don't matter in travel because you can just like you can play up, you can't play down.
Right.
So I know a kid that's been playing up for the last 4 years. He's good, and he's on these world championship teams, and he does all of this shit, and they travel like crazy, but he is cherry picked
every time,
every year on whatever team is going. Like he's played for multiple different teams, he's played for multiple organizations, and he's good. And it's like, but my fear in that is that you know how many great 10-year-olds never go anywhere.
Right.
He's becoming Omnisport. They just get
laser focused on baseball.
It. And it's like I'm an outsider looking in, and I'm like, at some point you might not like it. You might get burned out. Like, take some time, take some breathers, move around. But they don't, man. It is obsession.
Yep.
And look, I know that's what it takes to be great at anything.
I just I don't know the right answer to it, so don't get me wrong. But I just wish that one of these clubs would say, look, $100, $200 a month. And that sounds expensive, but that shit would be cheap.
It would be cheap. That's why they're not doing it. They can't do it.
And
so you got to think. I know some of these organizations.
Your kid can come here 3 times a week, and get some legit,
Why do that when they could charge you more per hour?
Right. I mean, I get that. I get it. But it's shutting that sport off. And eventually what happens, and this is why.
It's golf.
It becomes golf. And you go to a high school team right now for golf, they got 3 golfers that play.
Sure.
Because the rest of the people can't afford it. So what happens is, it's great now.
And in 30 years from now.
It's like the housing market. It's great now. But eventually that bubble got to pop.
Yeah, but the coaches don't care. I mean, they're making the money now.
And that's the
But
problem.
it's not just.
I agree, but
it's not just baseball though. So like, it's actually that in every sport, Cody. I won't lie to you. Like right now, they have what it is. 7 o'clock, they might have a session right now somewhere in these new built gyms in warehouses where a 6-year-old is getting one-on-one training, group session.
Basketball, football, and travel football now. They got. I mean,
that's crazy.
It is crazy.
It is. And then sometimes it's even like, hey man, this sport is for skilled people. If you're not heavily skilled, don't come to training. Like what?
But then I'm gonna get I know people that are in the business say, well, you know when a kid is athletic or not.
Wrong.
And
that's 100% wrong.
100%.
100%.
But that's what they say, that they can look at a kid and say, well, that kid's athletic.
They full of shit.
And I give you like one example, like
Brandon Brown.
Well,
I'm telling you, he's
even one Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham never played football until college. Never played organized football, and has been one of the best tight ends in NFL history.
So, growing up, all right, we all pretty much familiar with Brandon. We played a little TPR football. I remember, man, it probably was 88. And yeah, we telling our age. We was going to football practice, and Brandon, he just a big baby, like just clown around, eat snacks. We used to call him Bear, And we got our very first VCR. We're on our way to practice. My mama driving down the street, and she stopped and she was like, "Hey, I got a VCR, I'm going in here. We're gonna watch tapes." I'm like, I don't want to sit in no house. I'm going to football practice. Brandon quits. Watch football. Go home and watch VCR tapes. So meets Leroy Vidro's probably like 90. So Brandon first started playing basketball. He's just tall. So Leroy only teaching him how to eat up space. Hey, big man, nobody can get around you. I want you to sit right here, put your hands up, block the ball. When we get on this end, just catch it, turn it around, lay up. Basic stuff. That's all Brandon did. But when he got to Hummer Junior High, he didn't play no basketball in 8th grade. His 9th grade year, he really started playing basketball. So there's no training. Goofy as I don't know what. 2 left feet.
Right.
14, 15 years old.
14, 15. Everybody looked at him. He is no good. He makes All-American, TPR, All-Star that year. And then goes on to play at Terrebonne and become good. And me being his brother.
People listen to this. Explain good. Explain Brandon's later after high school.
So this just off the remark that trainers and other coaches sit down and say, hey, this kid might not make it. So Brandon went through high school, not really recruited, but he was real good. And his actual high school coach felt that he wasn't good enough to go D1. But his AAU coach actually had some connections and was actually able to talk to people at Tulane, and they did the recruiting in our house, signed the scholarship, and went to play on for Tulane. So the very day after signing the scholarship, I was at Terrebonne, and the basketball coach was like, hey, I didn't even know Brandon was getting recruited. It's like, well, I mean, you carry so much of that burden that you made the decision that you didn't think he was good enough to even go here. Like, you had some JUCOs come, but he really didn't want to do any JUCO. So me making that statement is just to say that people sitting down looking at you from an eye test, they can't. Yeah, they may be all right, and they may be right some of the times, but they can't tell you this kid isn't athletic enough or won't make it.
And part of it too, Tori, is it's not a secret. I coach too, and I see a lot of kids that come to me their 8th, 9th grade year that, like you said, 2 left feet, can't get out their own way. There's no natural athletic stance to them. There's no, I don't cut kids. My kid that's on the team now that's my stud wrestler, the one that's 7th in the state. His 9th and 10th grade year, he got mauled, man, like bad. Not very athletic, but had a lot of drive and had a lot of want to. I got another year since his senior year this year, but like I said, last year going into the state championship, he's ranked 7th in his weight class in Division I wrestling for our state.
From a school that has 0 wrestling history.
Yeah, I district-wise, we
and
did very well last year.
But it's not like you are a decorated wrestling coach either.
Right.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It's just.
No, but it's.
But I'm saying you pulled something exactly.
Right.
But I mean, coming from where we come from, and playing with the level of talent we played with when we were in school, it's a different mechanism, man. Guys that could actually just play, they don't really work hard, and you got guys that really love the game and want to play. They work hard. Like when they leave practice, they still thinking about practice.
Well, and that's one of the things that hurts my heart with my son, man. Is he's my kid that'll come home after school, gets him a snack, goes outside, grabs his net that he throws the ball into, puts it out in the yard, and he throws. He's going to get 50, his goal, and he does every day, whether it takes him an hour or 2 hours or 10 minutes, he gets 50 throws accurately before he walks away from the net. Then he pulls his batting thing out, sets up his little batting deal, and does the same thing batting for 50.
He going to be all right.
Every day.
He going to be all right. With this consistency. Before you're going to be doing that without even looking at his mechanics, not even thinking. It's just going to be natural. So, like you say, you just starting this, and it's a process, growing up and seeing that. Sometimes we used to want to just even go to the field. Like, if you wanted to take your son to a baseball, you will be able to do it until somebody see you. And then they're going to come pull you like, hey, you got this permission, you got this permission. So it's hard to even get your kids up and running in certain things and have adequate space to train them. And even like the basketball gyms, we actually using basketball gyms for indoor soccer. So it could tell you where we actually at. We just lost in rec sports. And if you actually try to break away from rec sports and start your own thing, but you still need to occupy these gyms and these fields, it's going to make it hard for you because they think you're shitting on the program that is actually not feeding any of the kids that's in the program.
Right.
And what's crazy, and I know people that's on our rec board, and I hope y'all listen to this, and I'm not shitting on y'all. They take credit for these state championships.
That's ridiculous.
But they do. Like they talk in these circles, and it's like, look what and it's like, they ain't had shit to do with. No. Yes, the facilities that y'all have built have played a part because these travel teams are renting them from you.
Right.
And look, if that's what our recreation department becomes, is just a facilitator. I honestly don't have a problem with that.
I do.
I don't have a problem. Well,
I can't afford to keep on paying.
So then it becomes the question of, it's going to sound really shitty, but how much involvement is our government having on where we're at? I'm not saying we don't have a conversation about tax dollars being allocated differently, but if the parish, if our local government creates a facility that is revenue producing and overall lowers taxes because it starts generating its own revenue, what is the government's ultimate goal?
When's the last time they lowered them? People ain't.
I'm not saying they did. I'm saying it's the conversation that should be had if that's the direction that they're going to go.
This is the problem. I pay X amount of tax dollars a year for rec. Okay. The baseball season this year was cut short. because they needed to better rent out fields to the
Private sectors.
right?
But why do you pay? Why do you pay
there
taxes?
was no,
for recreation?
hold on. There was no championship games because they wanted to
Won't
make
be
an
any
all-star
this year.
team so that they can go travel to other people's places with the all-stars, and half of them didn't even play rec ball. Like Tori said, it's pulling teeth trying to be able to use the facilities, even to have practice for your TPR team, your rec team. We got kicked off a field because a private team was coming in afterwards, and the excuse they tried to use for us was it's a school night.
Or you didn't actually make it to downtown and sign up and schedule that hour or that 2 hours to have that portion.
Oh, I know. We fly football. We got kicked off because the private soccer club at the Bayou Sports Complex.
Right.
And look, we weren't even on a soccer field. We were. You're familiar with it, right? When you pull in, there's like these wooden, like the little wooden gates. We were right on the other side of the ditch with 8 flag football players, 10-year-olds. Like, we not taking up no space. We taking up 20 yards. Y'all got all this field, and it's like, y'all can't be here. Look at the sign. And the sign says, reserved for whatever, this private, because they pay for it.
Right.
And I'm like,
But that's what tax dollars
okay.
paying.
Like, I mean, so again, I'm not disagreeing with the complaints.
So how does a TPR coach who doesn't get paid, who is volunteering or anything like that, compete when you need to practice with your players and you can't physically outbid a private sector?
Right.
So I'll tell you what a problem
on a field that's paid for by tax dollars.
So there's plenty of fields that we have available, right? People just don't use them.
Go.
Like what I did was took my lawnmower and went cut Mulberry Park, and we practiced at Mulberry Park. Nobody practices there.
Yeah, but keep doing that, and I'm
I
telling
did
you,
it for 3 years.
Listen to me, and I've got called to Mulberry Park when I used to work there to go kick kids off of there because they were playing flag football in the park and they didn't have permission to be in the public freaking park.
We got permission from the parish and from the rec department.
So Maple Park, we used to try to go there and play flag football.
I know it's a. What I'm saying
People
is that
kicked us out the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because that's the Karens of the neighborhood. But you know what I'm saying? So, but I'm not saying that there's not challenges across every avenue.
I
Which
thought
again,
they
there
kicked
shouldn't
us
be.
off too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The same park. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
We used to get
a
kicked off
bunch of
Maple Park
off-duty
all the
cops
time.
playing football at that park. We got kicked off.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah, bro.
You can't play at the park.
Yeah, you can't play.
Right, you can't play at the park, man. That's crazy.
No playing
man.
in the playground.
Yeah. So,
And they wonder why kids are stuck in the houses playing games and.
But they wonder why people are pissed off at the rec department. They wonder why people are fed up with things. But it's stuff like that, man. Like it's just it's mismanagement.
It's true, especially when you go to other places. And I know there's a couple communities in Alabama. Same thing. They had issues like this 15 years ago. And they had some people coming up and they were like, you know what? If this is the model where it's going, they capitalized on the travel thing, right? They built a complex like ours and they charged. And that's why I'm saying the model of taking government rec money and using it to facilitate things can work. It's a model that works, that has worked other places, that the public has made the decision to say, we're done with rec. Almost every recreational sport is now private. Their football team is run by a private company. All of their rec sports is run by a private entity. And they rent the facilities from the local government.
But see, my fear with that is, at that point, you're shutting off sports from some kids altogether.
From a lot of kids, yes.
Like
30% of the population.
Yeah.
Because they can't afford, because it's not a $15 sign-up fee.
Right.
Right? Every sport is $80 to play.
I don't believe in it.
And that's just the play. That's not the gear.
I know personally what sports did for me, right? And I don't think that should ever be taken away from kids, right? Like it shouldn't be.
So
It wasn't as monopolized as it is now. too.
The life lessons I learned through sports carry me still today,
capitalists
man.
realized how much money could be made from it, and it's going to take somebody like a LeBron James, Shaquille O'Neal, Drew Brees, and I can't say Drew Brees because he started the whole F&A thing, and I know it's a little different than rec sports, but they've still created these vessels that monetize youth sports. You cannot, and then, look, you want to monetize the travel, you want to monetize the elite in these sports, I'm 100% okay with that. But to monetize the basics of youth sports is a fucking crime, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
Because they're just making money at it. And look, I know, like I said, I have quite a few folks, family, friends that I know that are in these, and some are great. And some kids, I look at them going, why are you spending all of this money on your kid to play travel? Like, the kid don't play. They own his travel team. They practice their tail off, right? Because it's a bunch, but the kid never plays. And the kid's never going to get any better. But
the practice is going to help. Like him being around that group and getting that level of coaching and him, it'll help. You know, I even asked.
But how much?
I don't. That's
going to help you enough to as a parent.
What about his high school? Would he make the high school team?
Right. That's my goal for my son, just to make his high school baseball team.
Not if all the like. If you, I'll use basketball. If you're the 8th guy on the bench, your entire career, and then you go like you traveling with these same guys. It only gets more concentrated as they get older, because you have more people from
other areas
coming to the same school. So if he's on a baseball team with 25 kids now and he's not playing, and there's all of these other teams, when he gets to his high school, they're gonna have 10 of those teams into one team. So I don't know. I would hope like maybe the Brandon Brown situation.
Right. Yeah. But look, I'm gonna tell you, some of these kids, because I get them. I get them on my team all the time. Like I have one now that his dad's real big into baseball. He loved the sport. He grew up playing it. Was a starter on it. You know, as he got older and the competition got a little bit stiffer, kind of started getting to where he wasn't playing as much, kind of deal. And then one of the coaches pulled him and his dad aside and said, "Your son's not aggressive enough to play baseball. I think you're probably wasting your money here." Basically told him, "Thank you, but no thank you." That is a very, very aggressive kid. Like I have him on my wrestling team. It's a full contact sport. He's a phenomenal wrestler.
So you think he played on real good teams as a youngster?
On baseball teams? I'm not sure. I don't know if it was really good teams or it was travel.
And the only reason I say that because, you know, just growing up, like playing where we played at for Dumas, like we had all the talent. You know, we was a little bit undisciplined, and we had players that would leave and go play on other teams that were better, I guess, on paper, you know, and those teams were good, but when you punch them in the mouth, they fizzle. You know what I'm saying? So, like, even with my brothers, when they played basketball in TPR, they always played on the saddest team. And I used to ask them, and they'd be like, "Oh, I do that so I could get the most points." But at the end of the day, you getting the most points, but now you got to learn how to play defense because this person isn't that good.
Right.
And you have to do multiple stuff on offense to actually make your game better. So they actually became better players for playing with horrible teams than better players for playing with people that could do exactly what you could do.
Right.
Because you don't know your weaknesses when you play with everybody that could cover something for you.
I have that same question, or I don't say concern. That's concern. When I see some of these kids that are really good at a 5A school, and they go to a 1A private school, and they're like, "But I'm gonna make all district. I'm gonna be all of this. I'm gonna get all this set." I'm like, "But you're not playing the competition you would be when you're playing at a 5A private school."
Right.
You know, like I understand. Like, if it's for educate, you get it. If it's a parental decision, but anytime that you start monetizing a kid's abilities in youth sports, politics becomes a play, like you said. You know,
oh yeah.
Like, no thanks, but no thanks.
I guarantee
because such and such a son, his daddy's paying me $1,000 more.
I guarantee you, if I started having baseball lessons 5 days a week, an hour or two a day, the next time my son tried out for travel baseball, he'd make the team. 100%.
Oh, yes.
Even if he didn't get an inch better.
Yeah, I agree.
Guarantee he would.
Because that kid's got heart. He's got drive.
Yeah.
He's
all the things that he has now that I'm saying.
That daddy's paying for all of those lessons, and I want to continue getting.
Open up my checkbook. I guarantee my son's on the next travel team he tries out for.
And that shouldn't be Right, and that's a reason why we have so many travel teams.
Yeah.
Like if you look in our area, basketball, football, baseball, soccer, oh my God, we have so many of them.
Look, I'm going to be guilty of not allowing. Like, I don't say not allowing. My daughter loves playing basketball. And she's always one off from, like, the all-star team. You know, she gets invited every year to try out. And the coaches say, man, she's, you know, good, but we got, I mean, especially in basketball, because they only pick 8, 9
Right.
kids. Like it's
12 at the most, right?
Yeah. And so it's like, I get it, especially when there's 50 that try out. And so then one of the coaches, we've been approached the last 2 years. Hey, man, let Peyton come play on our travel. And I hesitate because I don't want her to get super focused on just basketball, you know, because I love her, but I know my daughter, she's, you know, a little
Locked
short,
in,
chunky
huh?
white girl. Like when she's on the court, and especially as she gets older, that the natural talent ability it just widens a little bit every year. It gets a little bit further apart, and she's not Chance. She's not practicing every day at home. She's not giving, because if I seen that's what she was doing, I'd be all in. I'm like, yeah, let's see what. And I tell her, I have this conversation with her. I'm like, look, you want to play travel ball, so you want me to commit all of my time, because it's not just about you no more.
Right.
You know, this is all my time traveling with you, bringing you to practice and doing all
My
this.
time, my
Missing
money,
vacations.
yeah.
Correct. And so, well, they turn into vacations.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like they and look, we just went to Tennessee.
You have to justify
Right.
You do.
all that travel, right?
We just she's in beta, and she's real artsy as well, and she won the state beta, her whole design thing, and like, you can go to nationals. Like, oh, great, nationals in Nashville, Tennessee. Okay, and it's 4 days, and it's at the Gaylord, which is this ginormous resort in Nashville, Tennessee. It's amazing. It's beautiful, alligators and lakes and shit in the resort. And so I'm like, okay, well, that's what looks like. That's where you're gonna, you know, spend your
summer.
vacation this summer, because it's. And she actually placed 7th in nationals, which again, it's like I'd have felt like shit if
Y'all didn't go.
you don't take her. But so the sacrifices you make financially to support your kids, but I see some of these parents that are sacrificing
Way
a
too
lot
much.
for like this. And again, I know it's not all business transactions in life, but that ROI on that money that you spend, like I feel that you can spend that money in time better in some of these kids with just doing one-on-ones or spending time going somewhere else with them than being the 30th best player on that team.
Right.
You know.
Like, so we got involved with all this out of my fear of messing my son up, right? Not a baseball guy, never have been. Played baseball in TPR when I was coming up, and that's about the extent of it. So I got him to a point where I felt like going further and not being as educated on how to develop him, I'd mess something up. You know, so that's kind of what got us on that track.
I relate to that Peyton basketball.
So, but I'm to a point now where I don't have a choice, right? Like so we're gonna roll the dice, and Daddy's gonna hit the books and learn how to coach him in baseball, and we'll see what happens.
That's it.
But I just
There's so
chaps
many
my ass,
YouTube
man.
stuff. And look,
That's it, man. You got to go back to the old days, man.
never
I will
played-
about
That's
to, bro.
it,
About to.
man. That's
I never
the
played
bonding.
basketball. I tried out for Homewood Junior High in like 8th grade, and then it's Coach Vedder. He was like, "I mean, you might be good enough next year." I was like, I'm good. And I was good in the neighborhood.
Right.
I knew.
You know, that's like, I'm gonna try out for the basketball team. I never played like any TPR
PR.
basketball.
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, never played organized basketball at all until I went and tried out for 8th grade.
I knew playing in my driveway, I wasn't good enough to play the damn basketball.
And I was like, so I tried out. And then that was the extent of my basketball knowledge. I mean, I watched basketball as a kid,
Right.
but
Yeah.
never knew. I didn't know there was actual plays in
Dude,
basketball.
you know what's funny, bro? I'm gonna tell you this. It wasn't until I was working the basketball details at the high school that I realized the coach was calling plays
Yeah.
on the sidelines. I felt like you came up with a scheme or a
Yeah,
game
you just
plan,
ran it.
and you sent them out there and just let them do their thing, you know. And then I see them like calling things out. So one of the guys working in detail with me, he played basketball. So I called him over. I said, "Hey, bro, what's the coach calling out? The plays." I said, "Got plays in basketball?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Hold up, man. We got to talk, bro." So we sat there, and I got a way better appreciation for the game.
Me too.
Through being around. The same thing happened to me with soccer too. I had no idea, So I guess I've been blessed in my position, especially with sports, of being able to appreciate a lot more of what they do because you kind of see behind the curtain,
right? Because it's like just reading a book reading the book and knowing the end, but not knowing what's in the middle of it. You know what I'm saying? And that's how basketball is. That's how a lot of sports are.
No doubt.
But with anything, once you know it front to back, oh man, you're gonna read it like 10 more times just because you know you missing stuff. Right. And
I coached Peyton's basketball team the first 2 years. So bitty. Like when the goal was like 5.5.
Right.
Just like, and we were good. Like I taught him. I was dribbling, taught him fundamentals, like everything. And then her third year, so when she was 9, they were like, "Hey, try out for All Stars." All right, cool. So we go to All Star tryouts, and this guy's like, "All right, we're gonna run this." And she looks at me, and I was like, "I don't know. I don't really know what he's talking about." And so I was like, "All right, like we real far behind. So get on YouTube, start, like figuring out, like, holy crap." But yeah, it's crazy that they're teaching that to kids at 9, 10, 11 years old.
But I mean,
it's great. I think it's great. It's the same thing. Like when I played TPR football, like you didn't, especially as a lineman, you weren't taught. Like you were just taught to get in front of the guy, put your hand, like fist him. You weren't taught any kind of technique.
Right.
And then when we learned full technique, when I went back to coach TPR, that's how I taught the kids.
Right.
I was taught, what a college player taught a high school player, and then I took that as a high school player and went teach it to, the youth. And I think that's, of course, the evolution of sports. But it just blew my mind that how far disconnected I was.
So why wouldn't you teach that to the youth?
What you mean?
Just basic fundamentals.
Because the coaches don't know it, and it's not really basic fundamentals.
Most of the time, it's somebody's dad.
Yeah, if
that
you know how many
no
coaches,
idea. That makes sense.
especially in youth sports, that these people have never played the sport. They are fans of the sport.
Yeah, so they don't know themselves. So of course, can't coach.
They played it. They never played it at a level to teach. Like fundamentals is such a wide word. Like there's fundamentals of just basic going from A to B, and there's the fundamentals of saying what steps to take and how to take those steps to get from A to B.
And I'll give you an example, man. One of the the caveats of coaching is just because you're a good player
doesn't make you a great coach,
right? And same as in reverse, because you're a good coach, I mean you'll be good at the sport. And I'll use my experience with wrestling. Okay, I had an assistant coach that was with me that was a really good high school wrestler, right? And I'm teaching things, and then he'll try to teach things. And he come up to me after practice, he's like, "Coach, I can't believe I missed so many things. Like, I can't believe I missed so many of the little tiny intricate things that it takes to do this move." And like I explained to him, it's because you've been doing it for so long.
Right. It's natural. You overlook those things because they naturally come because it's muscle memory. It's built in. You've been wrestling since you were 6 years old. So, and look, it made him have to sit back and start thinking, I learned it different. Right? I started with those little tiny things. So I was able to bring that to my guys a little bit easier than he was and break it down to its basic fundamentals. We call it painting by numbers, and we break down every little tiny detail. He didn't do it because things like he would do with his feet or positions of his hips came natural, and he hadn't thought about it since he was 6 years old.
Right, so he had learned it already.
Right, right.
Pure muscle memory, huh?
So you have those problems. Then you have your son wants to play basketball, right? So you're like, all right, son, we're going to try out for a basketball team. So you go down to sign him up for basketball, and they tell you your son is not going to be able to play because he don't have a coach. And then they'll tell you. That's why I got rained into coaching 6-year-old girls basketball. Then they'll tell you, look, if you want a coach, we can set a team up for you. And you're like, I never played basketball. And they tell you it doesn't matter. Just get out there, work with the kids, show them some things that's about the love of the sport. So you kind of get guilted into it because, man, if I don't do this, my son's not going to be able to play or my daughter's not going to be able to play. So you might not have ever played basketball, but you're doing this so that your kid has an opportunity to play.
And other kids.
And look, it's the same thing with these private. So now we have a lot of private leagues. And there's a few in our area as well. I don't know if y'all knew that.
Private leagues?
Private leagues.
For what?
So, like recreation leagues.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there's, like, flag, of course, F&A is one, but there's another flag football for youth that's not part of rec.
Right.
But, again, they're just starting, so they're having the exact same problem. Is that you go to them, you sign your kid up, you pay your money,
No
and then they
coaches.
go, oh, we don't have any coaches. It's like, what the hell am I paying more money for?
Right.
Like, you're supposed to, and they're like, well, no, so, and then, I mean, of course, I have a football background, so I had no problem coaching the football. I've never played this organized flag football because their rules are much different than an adult league flag football that we played back in the day. But it's still basically the same, so it's easier to coach. But when I got on the field, and it's like, I'm looking at some of these teams, and funny thing is, of course, because I'm a girl dad, right? So we had 5 girls in the league. They were all on my team. So we go up, and there's it's 6-on-6, and I got 11 kids on my team, 5 girls, 6 boys. All the other teams,
all male.
Boys. We came out second in the league. Started off rough. We the bad news bears, baby. First couple games was like, but I'm looking at all these other guys, and they don't have any football background, right? They got Madden background.
Yeah.
And I can tell by the plays that they're running. And I'm going, oh, y'all so far off. That's like, y'all may come up late, but these kids know zero fundamentals about the game.
Right.
Right? They're learning all the skills, right? Like, and which is great. I'm not knocking any coaching style. But they have, if they come on my team and I ask them generic football question, they cannot answer me.
But that's,
they have no idea.
And that's going to be that. So back to Brandon Brown. I remember when he first got to Terrebonne and Coach Neal asked him to do a drop step. The word drop step, never seen an actual action to it. But then when you show him, oh yeah, Coach Neal, I've been doing that all my life. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much what Cody was saying about the guy, the wrestler. Like, you do so many things that you don't even know the actual term of it. And when you actually hear it or have to teach it, you can't, because you've been doing it, but you never knew what you was doing. You was just thinking, man, I'm just a great basketball player. Every time I get this person on my back, I'm just going to hit him with this move. But that's a drop step. You know?
Right.
So.
Was it the same deal where he learned the move, or
well, he
just came
already
natural
knew
to
the
him?
move. Like, it's just our generation, we went outside and played. So anything you saw on TV, if you played it enough, you could duplicate the move without actually knowing what it was. So we actually stayed maybe 5 minutes from a park, man. And when we got bored, it didn't matter if it was nighttime, morning time. We went to that park and just played basketball against each other. If it was somebody's turn to wash dishes and we just had a barbecue where all the family came over, man, I don't really want to wash these dishes. You want to go play basketball for it? You know what I'm saying? That's the stuff we used to do just to go. And then you still ended up washing the dishes all you got in the fight on the park because you knew you was going to wash them dishes, and you cheating. No, I'm not. And here we go. Now we're going home, wash the dishes, and catch your ass whooping because somebody saw us fighting on the park, But playing these things where we come from, and not where we come from in our age group, we were all learning shit that we didn't physically know the name. And then to actually get a coach that knows what you're doing and be able to put a name to it, it helps your growth in the sport versus you just out there trying things.
Right.
So that was it.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's hopefully, and I don't know the answer when it comes to these youth sports either, because
I don't either, bro.
It's got so many pros, but it has so many cons. I hope that they get some kind of middle ground. What I hear people talking about is getting some of these travel people involved in recreation. In person, I think that's a nightmare. Because then there's nobody that's in that space that I feel confident enough that's not going to abuse the power.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you like this, man. I'm not gonna say any names or organizations, but there's been quite a few people going through this thing with my son and trying to get that are just some cocky assholes. Mm-hmm. That I'm like, bruh, different circumstances, different environment, different whatever, like that attitude would get dropped quick.
What?
You know?
Stay calm, sir.
Yeah, no, it hadn't been that bad. But I'm like, how are people paying you? You talking to? Because I'm sitting back listening to them talking to some of these people,
And you getting
and I'm
furious.
like, how are people paying you, and you're an asshole? Like I'm not like. Be damned with everything else. If I'm a paying customer and I'm coming to you and you're gonna talk to me like I'm an asshole? No,
Right.
no, sir, no. So I don't know how one of these dudes is even still in business. I figured it out about a week later when his business partner came and started talking. That other guy should stick to just talking to kids and never talk to a parent. That business partner, phenomenal guy. Like, that should be your face.
But that's you always have a little rough person, and then he kind of rub people the wrong way, and then you got somebody smooth that just comes in,
Good cop,
sorry.
bad cop, right?
Yeah,
Like
forgive me for my guy. You know, he's a
No
little
pun
rough,
intended.
ain't drank no
No.
coffee. We sorry you had to deal with him. You know, that's how that go, man.
Like not taking away that the guy was being an asshole. He can coach.
Right.
Now, none of the kids like him neither.
Right.
Because the guy legit is just an asshole.
Right.
But I'm like, man, this other dude, like,
Guy needs a PR person, huh?
them two business partners need to talk and be like, say, bro, don't never talk to another parent.
Right.
Sit your ass in the back. Go coach how to bat with you know, and let me deal with the parents. Because I'm like, golly, how they got? Oh my God! It was enough that I was like, we ain't trying out for this team.
Right.
Because I'm not. Our personalities, I'm not gonna be able to deal with that dude.
Does it still cost to try out for some of these travel teams?
It didn't cost. Not the one we tried out for didn't cost any money to try out, per se.
I know some
But it was highly suggested that my son come to 3 private lessons to kind of get him ready for the tryout and come to these 3 things so we can get a look at them, kind of thing.
and pay us for that.
Oh yeah, $65 a pop, bro.
Yeah, I could tell you, it's a rec is nonprofit, travel is a business, and that's what it boils down to. And it's
Like I said, I don't know the answer. I don't.
the answer is don't monetize youth sports.
My fear is, it that bubble pops and
Or
it becomes
or
golf.
if you're going to monetize it enough to where you have a specific amount of money for scholarship to players, right?
And that wouldn't be a bad. But then,
So if every parent
raffle?
pays. Yeah, I mean, they raise money. Fucking travel teams.
What I'm getting at is those scholarship players. How do you determine, is it skill based?
Yeah, I would say yes, because that's the only way that you're going to have.
So it still don't fix the problem.
I mean, it fixes the problem for kids that can't afford it. That
That are good.
That
I
are
get
good.
it.
Because the thing is, if you got kids that can't afford it and they're good, that is truly lost opportunity. For that kid.
Yeah. I get that.
But if you have kids that either develop.
But if my son was really, really good, or my neighbor's boy was like a phenomenal baseball player, and they couldn't afford, and they selling lemonade or cookies or something, we buy them. There's ways.
I get it. But again, there's still some of these kids that can't even afford to be in the environment.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if there's any baseball coaches out there who are really good at working with kids and really good at developing and helping kids with their fundamentals and get them to bridge that gap to be able to compete travel wise, and you need a business model, I'm telling you right now, have a monthly fee, open up a little place, you have a waiting list. You're a waiting list. I'm telling you right now, you're gonna have kids lined up out the door trying to sign up to you. From the time, whatever times you set up your practices, you're gonna have.
So what's the difference of having a
guarantee you.
monthly fee or an hourly fee?
If it was cheaper.
Well, then it's just about being cheaper. It's not about having a monthly fee or an hourly fee.
So he's saying, let's say.
I understand
I'm
the
a businessman,
model.
so
Right.
you got a business. I'm about bridging the gaps between a problem and a solution in the business world.
Right.
So I will find talented people to coach kids if there's a way to make money on it. And what I'm saying is that
And then he's going to hate you.
Well, I wouldn't hate
because
him.
I don't
necessarily
have. Look, my
hate 'em.
businesses, every business that I have, my main thing is providing value to a customer.
Right.
Yes, I am doing it to make money, but I'm not doing it to get rich. I am okay
I'll
with
put
making money over the long term of everything we do.
I'll put it to you like this, Jared. I have no problem. I'm not even interested in my son traveling and going to compete. I need him to have coaching Because my ultimate goal is for him to be able to play high school baseball
ball.
if he wants to. I've even asked these travel teams, listen, can my son just come be around it and participate in practice? He's not gonna get in the way. He's a hard worker. I'll pay the club fee. I don't have to travel with the team. They won't do that either, because they make way more money charging you $65 an hour, giving you a little sprinkle of lessons and keeping you coming back.
Right. They
Right.
put us on the training.
I offered to pay a monthly thing or whatever. They won't do that. They want to let your kid go be on a practice team. You have to pay for their private coaching lessons, right? For your son to get better to make their travel team. That's the problem I have with it.
Because that's their business model.
Yeah.
Versus if I'm telling you, if somebody, I don't have the knowledge with it, but like if you open it up and from, let's say, whatever time, you paid a monthly thing and your kid got to go and just practice,
Well, let me
make
ask you a
money.
question. So the $65 an hour, is that one-on-one?
Yeah, it is one-on-one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how does a monthly subscription better that? Because a monthly subscription model would be like everybody pays $200 a month. We'll just use easy numbers, and we'll have practice from this time to this time, Monday,
Yeah.
Wednesday, Friday of every week.
Right.
Right. So if you want to come, if you can make those times come. If you can't, you can't. But then I can't coach one-on-ones.
It's the same thing with let's say martial arts, for instance. Mm-hmm. You pay a gym membership to ABC martial arts gym, and they got 15 kids there. All those kids are learning karate. All those
it's
kids are
not
learning how to.
one-on-one. That's
it's
why I
not,
asked that.
but you have the option in all those places
To
If
do
you want to
one-on-one.
go one-on-one, you can pay a little extra for one-on-one, right? But all those kids are getting the same great coaching from those masters, right?
So what's a monthly subscription fee that you feel comfortable paying?
I mean, I don't know. If you go to a local sports, a local martial arts gym, you're probably paying $100 to $150 a month, and normally that's it's open 4 days a week or whatever.
So you get
For how long? And how long do they
1 hour.
Oh.
1 hour. Now,
I mean, that's the individual greed in the one-on-one, but I understand what
Well,
you're
no, I mean,
saying.
the one-on-one is no doubt is going to give you the better outcome, right? Because
but you also know.
it will. When it comes to when you talk about bridging the gap,
Jared, but you also and I'll use the martial arts model. If Tori is my martial arts coach, and I'm a little 10-year-old kid, and he's teaching my whole class, him walking around and seeing, he knows what I need work in now. So it's not up to you if you're my daddy
agree.
when he go because you go to a baseball. What your son needs to work on? His arm strength and a lot of things. Why don't you work with him and see?
yeah, no, I agree with you. I also
But
think
that's
kids
going to take
learn from
5
other
lessons.
kids.
But that's going to take 5 lessons.
Yeah, kids learn from
It's
other
going to take me
kids.
about 5 lessons to better see what
Right.
Yeah.
what his real problems.
And my thing is with the one-on-one.
Just tell me it's going to be $350 for me to diagnose your kid.
right,
And then
right,
with the
right.
with the one-on-one that young with the kids these days, because kids don't really openly talk to people anymore. Like a kid is not going to ask an adult, "Hey, did I do that right?" Because he's actually going to look at you and peep out your body language and your mannerisms and be like, "Oh, I did that wrong," and I don't even want to talk to this guy. Versus where if it's a group setting,
Yeah.
it might be you and your homeboy, and your homeboy like, "Hey, you know how I be teasing you at home, man? You got to do this. You're doing this wrong." It's easier for people
Right.
to build like that nowadays. Where us, we'll leave out the house and go walk down the street and find Bobby by ourselves and do stuff. Kids not doing that no more.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
And you're running more drills, you get more quality coaching.
Well, and you're involved with kids that are paying attention.
Right.
You're
right.
not dealing with the rent kids that just are there because they're parents and the babysitter.
Right.
So I get the both. So you got to roll out.
Yeah, you got work, man.
I know. That's why I've been down waiting for you to give me like a rap song. You sent me a text?
Yeah, he sent it to the group, bro.
No.
I thought you was going to
See, I do the right thing when you're a podcast, phones go off.
Man, nobody heard our phones.
No, mine's on vibrate right here. You didn't hear it.
I didn't. Well, did I get a text?
Yeah, he sent it to the whole group.
You sent to the group.
Phone, but you,
Damn.
peace.
Later, brother.
My bad.
It's all right.
I'm about to get a refill on coffee, so y'all keep talking for a minute.
So yeah, what I'm saying is there's money to be made out there.
That's what you're saying, yeah. Because if you have enough kids, at $200 a month,
Right.
that could potentially.
Or even $100 a month, whatever. But as long as your price point's a little bit cheaper than if you went 4 days a week with private coaching, you're going.
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't know why nobody does it. That is a good idea.
I have no idea why they don't.
Assuming that the clientele's out there, which according to you it is.
But see, that's where y'all at. Y'all saying it's a good idea until y'all put numbers to it.
Why?
Because we'll do some simple math since we're talking about it, right? So you're saying $100 a month, right?
Oh,
So
I'm just trying to use round.
use simple
right.
numbers because then we can multiply it times that. So you take $100 a month, and how many kids?
I don't know how many kids. I mean, me for sure. And they got me. They got to have
So 20 kids.
20, 30 other people out
So
there.
30 kids.
Okay, let's say 30 kids.
So $3,000 a month
for an hour of your time.
It doesn't matter the time.
No, it does.
Right? It doesn't because I got to get a facility, got to have a place to train these kids. So I either got to rent something or have something for myself.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, for the type of training that they need, you can go to a freaking field, man. If you know what I mean,
it's not raining and it's not wet and it's not dark and it's not all these other things. So that eliminate you have to eliminate variables, right? And where I'm going with this is the dollar. Right?
But you're talking about so this is one thing you got to realize too. So it's an hour for, let's say, 12, 13, and 14-year-olds. It's an hour for 6, 7, 8-year-olds. It's an hour, and if you got 30 kids in each one of those groups, that's multiplicative.
Okay, so say you got 3 groups, because again, you can only do it on average probably 3 hours.
Yeah, probably in the evening time, right?
Yeah. So 3 hours a night at 4 nights a week, because everybody else has other things. You have games, especially as you get older.
Right.
So 3 nights a week, right? So you're giving up. And we're not talking about time. I'm not talking about time. And this is, I think, where people misconstrued, because we have it all the time on our lawn care stuff, right? People's like, well, it only took you 20 minutes to cut our grass. It took us 20 minutes to cut your grass with a $15,000 lawnmower.
Right.
Right? And a $1,000 edger. So that's what, so what I'm getting at with this, like you have to have a facility. Whether it's a rented gym, a warehouse, a business of your own.
Okay.
And some of these places have these facilities.
Yeah, most of them do.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess where I'm going with it long term, to make a long story short without getting crazy into it, is that none of these guys are breaking the bank with money. They're charging $65 an hour and you're going, God, that's a lot of money. There's a ton of expenses that go into that $65 an hour to charge.
Not for the private coaches.
Right? What do you mean not with the private coaches?
They're using the owner's facility.
You think they're getting all that money themselves and they don't have to pay rent? They're not paying anything to be in this facility?
In most places, that coach, that the private lessons and stuff and using that facility, that's a perk of working there. They coach an age group, right? And in the private lesson stuff, the majority of that is like their own
What if this and again, I don't know the business behind it. But
it's the same thing in a martial arts gym. You have private coaching as a perk of working there. You go and get your private people.
So you get paid to work there.
I'm assuming so.
Well, then whoever owns that facility is a dumbass, right? It's like owning a gym. Like your personal trainers work there,
right?
Because they're allowed to charge. That's their pay. The gym doesn't pay them. The gym allows them to work at a facility and charge people, and they get a cut of that percentage, right? Or
I don't know what
that's what I'm saying. There's no way that I'm going to believe that they're going to charge this money, and there's not some kind of structured workout to where that's their opportunity to make money, and they coach for a discount. I coach the team for a discounted rate.
Maybe so.
Because I know some of these coaches that and look, so the hour that they're traveling and they're making $65 an hour, they're only making $4 an hour to coach that team, right? If you take all the time in and it goes to the coach, because they're not paid a bunch of money salary wise, but they're allowed to charge for coaching and for all the extracurricular stuff, So again, it is a business model, and I know it sucks when you look at it going, well, I feel like I'm paying $65 an hour for somebody to coach my kids. Like you said, sprinkle a little practice dust on them and be like, oh, you know, we're going to be all right. You know, do I think there's a middle ground? Yeah, there's definitely something that
and that's what I'm getting at. And I think there's money to be made in that middle ground. Like, I'm not mad at these people for having these facilities. And like I said, there's a lot of pros to travel sports too.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just my fear is baseball becomes golf, right? Where eventually you're not going to have kids, or it's going to get to a point where because there's not a lot of kids that are able to afford it and go, you're right back to square one, where now your baseball teams are not as good because you're getting kids who couldn't afford it younger, and now they're getting into it in high school, and you're having to coach fundamentals.
I think that's youth sports
high school. It's like a big circle.
And it's youth sports in its entirety right now. It's not just it's every sport. You know, every sport has a participation decline. You know, I think across the board.
Right.
I mean, golf courses are shutting down. We've had 2 locally out of business, done. They're going to make neighborhoods out of them.
Yep.
You know, so just start, because again, that's what you see. We're using golf as an example, and that's why, because it is going to be the deterioration of that sport long term if they don't keep it in the youth for free or very minimal charge. You know.
So let me ask you this: like, what am I missing here? Because 30 kids, $100, $3,000, you said. It'll take 46 kids at $65 an hour to reach that 3,000.
Okay.
So why is that a better deal? Unless he has 46 clients, why is that a better deal than what Cody's saying?
Because I only got 46 clients.
What does that matter? It's the same amount of time to you, though. You're coaching these 30 kids at the same time, the same hour.
But I'm not just dealing with 30 kids. I'm dealing with 30 kids, I'm dealing with 60 parents. I'm dealing with...
So you don't think the trouble's worth it to them?
It's not just trouble. It's time communicating. It's setting up. It's organization. The more kids I have, the more liability I have.
So you're telling me it takes more kids to hit that $3,000 mark?
With what?
Is that
at $65 an hour, it would take 46 kids.
So basically 46 hours.
46 hours of your time to reach that $3,000.
46 kids versus 30 kids at $100 a month. Probably a lot more of your time, though.
Absolutely.
Because you're going.
That's what I was asking.
4 days a week, so it's 4 hours. No, because it's 4 hours a week times 4 weeks. I mean, yeah, 4 hours.
64 hours.
No.
If you're doing 16 hours a week at 4 weeks in a month.
No, you're talking about 4 hours a week, man. 1 hour a day. 1 hour a day.
Oh, 1 hour.
1 hour,
yeah. So 4 hours a day.
Yeah, 16 hours.
4 hours a week.
Way more profitable to do it at $100 a month.
But I'm dealing with 46 kids.
You're only dealing with 30 kids.
Right, but it's one-on-one. Now I'm dealing with 30 kids all at the same time.
Okay.
So I'm dealing with 30 kids 3 times a week, 4 days a week. I'm dealing with 120 kids, right? This is the instance of what you're doing. So, right, it's touches. All right, I look at it that way.
But it's also less time investment. Because you're talking about a fraction of the time. So about 16 hours versus 46 hours. Because you're going.
I'm not disagreeing with the money model, but it's much easier to deal with 46 individual one-on-ones than doing mass classes. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the teaching aspect or the money aspect is any better or worse. But there's no way that you're going to say that dealing with 46 individuals on a one-on-one basis is not 10 times easier to deal with 30 kids every time you practice. Yeah.
But I mean, at the same amount of hours.
And this is the thing. When you start dealing with 30 kids and you're doing practice, well, Johnny couldn't come, and you're dealing with a lot.
Listen to me. You're not competing.
This is not a competition thing. What I'm getting at is that...
let me finish, please.
You interrupted me before I could finish what I was saying, because I don't know where you're going. What I'm saying is that little Johnny's mom calls and says, well, Johnny couldn't come to Mondays and Tuesdays practice, so why do I have to pay? Like, even though it's all written out in stone, and you say I'm paying $100 a month for this available time, you still have people that complain about it because they think they're getting the short end of the stick, rather than saying, it's $65 an hour, you sign up, you pay. Like, So the more that you get involved, and I'm just telling you, this is what people do. I know you say, well, I don't do that. I think it's stupid. I agree. But this is what people do. Right? When you give the forecast and the projectability of this through this, and this is the availability, and you schedule, you come, it's open. You come, you not. People still are going to be like, well, we couldn't make it because we had a funeral. We had this, so I think I should, and you start dealing with billing bullshits and all those other things that go on top of it. So the more, the 30 kids in the description, yes, less time, more availability, more profit, more profitable. Yes, I get all that. But they're still dealing with more bullshit.
You don't think you deal with, I'm a private coach, and I book Lil Johnny, and Lil Johnny don't show up?
Yes.
And now that hour time
Yes.
is gone?
Or now Lil Johnny still ain't improving, so it's your fault.
Yeah, it's your
You're
fault.
still gonna run into
Absolutely.
issues.
You're still going to have issues.
We're talking about a $2,000 difference for the same amount of time.
How you figure that?
65 times 16.
What do you mean?
It took you 16 hours to make the 3,000 with a group.
Okay.
Individually, you would make 1,040 for the same amount of time.
Make way less money for the same amount of time.
16 kids.
No, it's 16 hours.
16 kids, yeah, but 16
Oh yeah,
hours.
there's no doubt. Of course, the more that you monetize and have availability, like the more people that are having a spot. That's the whole point of a subscription-based system of being why it is.
What I'm getting at is you're not competition focused with what I'm talking about. You're not focused on competition. You're focused on getting these kids better. If they want to do travel and go do travel, these kids can go do travel, right? And that's the whole objective is to bridge that gap at a more affordable cost to get these kids better coaching, so they can go make their high school team if they want, but their parents ain't got to travel all the way around the world to go do competition travel ball. That's all I'm getting at. Or if you want your organization within your thing, if you want to do the travel side of it, look, this is our practice schedule. Your kids can sign up for practice. These are tryouts out of that group of kids. If they want to come play travel ball, this is the additional cost to come play travel ball, and do it that way. That way you open your doors up to more kids. You open your doors up to more availability, and you're servicing your customers a little better with. If you want the competition, it's here. If you want to just practice, it's here. You make your choice, and how much money you want to invest in it is up to you. I just think there's money to be made there, and it's a little bit easier pill to swallow for parents. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah, and I agree.
I would put my kid in that environment instead of him. To me, it would be like no different than him joining a martial arts gym, right? You're gonna pay $100 a month. Your kid can go to practice at a martial arts gym 4 days a week. If you want your kid to go compete in martial arts, you pay the tournament fee. You bring him. He can join that martial arts gym's competition squad. Costs a little bit extra money, because of course it's more time invested by the coach because they have to travel. You have to go to these tournaments. So I get that, and I get where that money's going. All I'm saying is I think there's money to be
How
made in
many
that
hours
same
do you
model.
think? How many hours do you think that for the average kid is paying for these training sessions? Like how many hours in a month?
So I got a friend of mine. His son plays catcher for one of these elite teams. Okay. On top of his normal practice schedule and his travel expenses and all that, joining their club, paying all that the team fees and stuff, he still does 3 hours a week with a private coach. And for
But he's paying this $65 an hour.
what I'm being told is that's a common practice.
Yeah.
Like if you want your kid to be on that elite level, that's the kind of things you have to do. So you got to pay all this other money for a travel team, plus you got to have at least 3 extra hours a week where you paying a private coach to coach your kid too. So that's $65 a pop.
Yeah, $700 a month.
Yeah. That's the issue that I have with it. And like I said, the proof's in the pudding as far as the end result. We got baseball in this area is taking major steps forward and competing on a state level. You got like I said, you got 2 state championship teams right here in this parish. And I think it has 100% to do with the level of competition and the travel ball scene. I just don't know if that's sustainable. That's my concern with it. And having a sport like baseball not be available, but only to the people who can invest $700-800 a month on top of all the other money you're spending on baseball to have your kid be able to make a high school baseball team. That's my concern.
Yeah, that's insane to me. It just truly blows my mind because I can't. I mean, so you're talking about $10,000 a year just in fees and
Yeah.
you know, for your
Right.
12-year-old, 13-year-old
Yeah.
to play
Yeah.
baseball.
Kids 12. Yeah. And that's a common, like this kid's been doing travel ball since he was 6 years old.
Yeah.
You know?
It's common in the community. It's not common, right? Like that's
Right.
the thing. Like
no, yeah, it's common within that,
yeah.
that elite group
I guess I'm questioning things just based on the business side of it, right? My question and concern would be, could you operate a facility like that and not have a travel team associated with it?
You probably would have to have one, but at least it would be up to the parents. So you don't have to, right?
Well, this is the thing. Then it becomes about credibility.
What you mean?
Like if you have a travel team that's associated with it, and it's like we don't push the travel team, then how good are you going to be and how competitive are you going to be? And if you're not winning, why am I going to go to you and not go to Joe Blow?
You can go to Joe Blow and pay $65 an hour to have your kid go 3 times a week on top of all the additional fees. You can do that if you want. You 100% can. I'm offering something different. If you want that something different, it's here for you, right? We're just focused on getting the kids better. If your kid is one of these elite and they want to come on our travel team, I would still have that travel team be as elite as we can get it. You know, you'd still have tryouts. You would still have all those same things. You would just offer for the kids who maybe aren't to the level yet of the travel team, or the kids who are not interested in competing, but they want to get the quality coaching and the quality practices in that you can't get in TPR. We offer that at a smaller monthly cost. That's all I'm getting at. I think that'd be a happy medium, and I think that would help the sport to grow because more kids would be involved in it.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just bringing. I look at it on a business thing and say, what is the talent, right? The coach, what do they cost? What are they? What is a fair?
Right. That's why I'm saying, like, I couldn't do it because I can't. I'm not gonna go invest the money in that business because I would have to know how to coach baseball
Correct.
to that elite level to be able to have that model. That's that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you or I could go open that up because we would have to pay a coach. Versus if I was that coach opening it up, it's a little bit different.
Then why would you? Again, why would you devalue yourself?
But because you're not devaluing yourself. Brennan just showed you the math.
It is. It's the same. But again, it's. I'll use any other thing. It's to do a one-on-one session or to do a group session. It's much different in how you coach, why you coach, the questions, it's focus, it's attention. It's that's why when you have football practice, you don't have a full scrimmage every time. You have positional coaching and stuff where you have more of the little fine tunings and stuff like that. So I understand your karate model, and I get that. But I don't know of any, and again, I could be wrong, but my idea of a karate model is not having, the only way you can do it is by having 50 or 60 kids. It's the only way that it makes sense. Because, again, I believe the $65 model is a way for them to make money when it comes to coaching on the back end. Right? Mm-hmm. That's what I believe, because it would be hard for me to rationalize any other way of them making allowable money. And then I'm taking it and going, okay, if I have to have a warehouse, if I'm going to do this, and
you gotta have an indoor location where you can practice all those training.
That's
right. Yeah, I get that.
$6,000 a month, $7,000 a month in cost.
I don't know, man. Have you seen
it is.